how do we describe our personalities? Describe the personality of another person. And what are some interesting adjectives we can use rather than the ones we all know? Like, I'm friendly. I'm friendly. I'm shy. We all know those. Those are kind of simple, kind of basic. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a few interesting ones, a few personality adjectives that we can use which are a little bit more advanced, not so simple. We'll look at what they mean, and then we'll look at some examples, how we can actually use them. Okay, so personality types. Adjectives for personality types. Just to be clear, personality is more about your behavior and not about what you look like. So your appearance is what you look like. Your behavior, how you act around others, usually your traits. These are your personality characteristics, or this is your personality type. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some of these. And we're going to start with adventurous and courageous. And I mention these two because they're similar but different, and I want to talk about the difference. This is more interesting than saying someone is just active. I'm very active. All right, well, active, what does that mean? Does that mean you like sports? It could be so many different things, right? So let's talk about adventurous and courageous. Now, if someone says they're adventurous, it often means, generally speaking, that they like to do new things they've never tried before. That could be all kinds of new things. It could be something related to food. It could be something related to travel, going new places. It could be something related to, for example, in your workplace, your job. Maybe in your job you like to always be pushing and trying to do new things. You're very adventurous. Yeah, okay. You're open to new things. You're willing to try new things. Now, some people might confuse that with courageous, very courageous. But actually, courageous is different. Courageous means we're willing to do things, but it's more focused on not being afraid of any bad things that might happen if we do that. So adventurous means I want to try new things. Maybe I don't even think about the bad consequences that might happen, the bad things that might happen. Courageous means that I do something maybe because I want to try it or maybe because I feel like it's the right thing to do. And I know there might be some consequences, and it doesn't matter to me. I'm okay with it. I'm brave. Now, that could be something physical, physically courageous. I'm not afraid to go into a dangerous situation and do something that might be scary to others, right? Like climb up a rock face if we're hiking. Oh, he's very courageous. But usually we wouldn't describe that sort of physical behavior as courageous because it's just climbing up a rock face. Usually it's stuff that's moral, stuff related to our actions in society. So let's look at a couple. I think we can look at a couple of examples. Let's do that. I'm not adventurous enough to ride a motorcycle to work. Okay. So this is a simple action, riding a motorcycle. It's dangerous. I'm not adventurous enough. Some people will think, oh, that's so cool. You ride a motorcycle to work? That's awesome. Okay. But if we're not adventurous enough to do that, that means maybe we're afraid of getting hurt or whatever. We could say crazy. We could add the word crazy here instead of adventurous. I'm not crazy enough to ride a motorcycle to work. Some people might say that. But that doesn't mean that riding a motorcycle is a bad thing. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with riding a motorcycle. No. It just means that I feel that there's some danger involved and I don't want to do it. If I were more adventurous, I might try fried spiders. So this is about food. Try fried spiders? Yeah, you might eat something crazy. Fried spiders. I've had actually fried insects before, but never fried spiders. I don't think I could do it because I've heard they're very juicy inside and you bite them, they sort of and so I think that's disgusting. So I'm not adventurous enough to try fried spiders. Okay, so this is about things that are kind of scary, and some people might be very active and want to try those things and not be afraid of anything bad that might happen. In this case, getting in a motorcycle accident or having a spider explode in your mouth and having the chance that it might be disgusting. Okay, But courageous is for more serious stuff. It takes a courageous person like MLK is Martin Luther King Jr. It takes a courageous person like MLK to make real change happen. Okay? Refusing to follow the status quo can be a courageous act. Status quo is what's normal. What's normal. The status quo is what everybody does. The common thing, right? The status quo. The status quo. And if you refuse to do it because you think, I think that not doing this is the right thing to do. It's the best thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. Refusing to do it is courageous because other people might make fun of me. Other people might laugh at me. I might get fired from my job, whatever it might be, right? So usually this is about more serious stuff than just being adventurous, climbing up a rock face, riding a motorcycle to work. This is about serious stuff. You're very courageous for doing this, okay? People are usually admiring you when they say that you're courageous. Okay, so that's courageous and adventurous. Now, let's talk about two others. We're going to talk about 3 sets of these. So the first, courageous, adventurous. Now we're going to talk about considerate and empathetic. Now again, these two are similar. We're doing these in pairs because they're very similar, but not the same. Not the same, okay? Considerate, empathetic. Considerate, empathetic. Now, if someone is considerate, it means that they understand how other people feel, and then they take action to make other people feel better. They do things that other people may want to make other people happier, to maybe accommodate others, to maybe make other people feel like they're comfortable. Okay? You're very considerate. Thank you for thinking of me. It's like I thought of you, and after I thought of you, now I'm going to do something. I'm going to take some action to make you feel okay, to make you feel good. All right? That is what considerate means. Now, empathetic, if someone is empathetic, that means that they just understand how other people feel. And it's not related to action. Right? It's not related to action. Empathetic just means you understand. You understand. I know how you feel. I get it. That's what we say. If we're empathetic, we say things like, I know how you feel. I get it. I completely understand. So we've got some similarities here, but they are different. They're absolutely different. Okay, so let's look at some examples of these. Let's see if we can look at some examples to understand these more deeply. It was very considerate of you to come pick me up at the airport. Okay, very considerate of you to pick me up at the airport. You thought, oh, it must be so tough to travel to a new city and have nobody there to get you to take you to your hotel. I'm going to go pick you up. Oh, that's so considerate of you. Thank you for thinking of me and taking action. I think it's good to be considerate, but not at your own expense. What does that mean? Well, that means if you're so considerate that you're always trying to make everybody comfortable, everybody should be comfortable, always trying to think of others and make others comfortable, then actually what you're doing is perhaps making yourself uncomfortable. So don't go so far. Don't be so considerate that you do it at your own expense. That means you make yourself suffer as a result. Okay. So that's considerate. You think about others and then you take some action. Now, it's hard to be empathetic toward violent criminals. So there's a violent criminal, someone who killed somebody or beat somebody or whatever. It's really hard to understand why they did that. It's really hard to understand them. It's very hard to be empathetic toward violent criminals. Maybe we should be. Maybe we should try to at least understand them as human beings. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. But it's hard to do that because we feel upset when we find out that somebody has done something bad, when someone has hurt somebody else. So it's hard to understand that person. That's empathetic. We understand them. We understand how they feel. Now, the noun form of this is empathy. A little empathy goes a long way. That means if you show empathy towards others, if you are empathetic, then you might have better friendships. People will feel that you care about them. People will feel like you understand exactly how their emotions are, negative or positive. And often it's used for negative emotions. To be empathetic is not necessarily to take action, but just to understand how other people feel. Now, sympathy is a little bit different. Maybe we can talk about that later. Again, these are all a bit different. We have to understand the differences. We have to look at examples so that we can get a feeling about these. Okay, now we have one more group to look at, one more set of words. So let's do that. Let's look at another set. The last one we're going to talk about, chatty, outgoing, and extroverted. Once again, very similar in a lot of ways, but some slight differences between them. Okay, what does each of these mean? The first one, chatty. Chatty very simply just means someone who likes to talk, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't mean they only talk, but they like to have small talk or simple conversations. They like to talk to others, often about basic things, simple things, everyday conversation, not necessarily deep discussions. Okay, a very chatty person. We often describe a chatty person also as bubbly personality. I'm very chatty. I have a bubbly personality. I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying, for example. Outgoing, though, is a bit different. Outgoing is someone in social situations who's always willing to go over to the other person, start a conversation, isn't shy, is not afraid to say, hey, how's it going? To be the one to say something first. This is an outgoing person. A person who is comfortable socializing, usually. And it doesn't necessarily mean they're chatty. No, it really is different. Chatty is about the conversation part, about wanting to talk, liking, enjoying speaking, talking, conversations. Probably someone who's outgoing also enjoys conversations, but that's not the focus. The focus is they're the ones who begin or initiate some sort of conversation with other people, especially strangers. At a party, if you're outgoing, you'll probably make lots of friends. This is very similar to extroverted. Now, extroverted is more like the psychological term. When we talk about personality types, in psychology, we use introvert and extrovert. Extrovert is the noun. Extroverted is the adjective. Introvert, extrovert. They're opposites. An extrovert is someone who, the best definition I've seen, someone who gets their energy from being around other people, someone who loves to be around other people, who loves to be around their friends. So this is a little different because an extrovert isn't necessarily outgoing. You could have an extrovert who loves going out with friends and having fun, but isn't necessarily the person who talks to strangers first, which is usually what we mean when we say outgoing, someone who is willing to talk to someone they don't know, be the first person to talk. Extroverted just means you love spending time with others. You feel energized when you spend time with others. Whereas an introvert enjoys spending time by themselves. And when they want to recharge their batteries, when they want to get their energy back, they might spend time by themselves. They might go for a walk. I'm curious to hear from you guys if you're introverted or extroverted. I'm definitely introverted. I like spending time with people. Doesn't mean I don't like it. But when I want to recharge my batteries, when I need to replenish my energy reserves, I go for a walk by myself. I spend time by myself. Naturally, that's my natural thing. But I like talking with people and having conversations too. So let's look at a few examples here. I'm not very chatty, but that doesn't mean I don't like conversations. So I like having maybe deeper conversations, but I don't feel like I always need to chat, to talk with people. Sometimes I just like to be quiet. For example, outgoing people tend to be good at working in teams. If you're outgoing, maybe you work well with other people at work in your team. Okay. Maybe introverts can too. Fine. But outgoing people are often very good at socializing or working together with people. If you're extroverted, you probably spend more free time with friends. Introverts, that's the noun form, may like staying home. Of course, that's not always true. Extroverts like staying home too. That's just a general description of introverts and extroverts. Okay, so this is the basic idea. These are some slightly more advanced words we can use to talk about personality types. Of course, there are many more, many more, and we could talk about them forever. And there are lots of interesting ones as well. Maybe we can talk about those in the future. But anyway, those are some of the common ones to use, and I'm curious if those fit you. So yeah, leave a comment if you feel that one of these fits you, or if you're the opposite of one of these.